just simply are not going to come back and do business with them. And they're facing litigation and fines up to $3.6 billion. And this breach is clearly going to keep the company from reaching its strategic objectives for 2014 and beyond. So how do you get prepared, and how do you fend off these types of breaches? Some of you may be familiar with these 20 critical security controls that every business should have. They've been established by SAM, the Council on Cybersecurity, and the NSA. And these controls are listed in the order of importance and how the NSA recommends you approach your security program. If you're familiar with these controls, and even if you're not, what you're going to notice is that they don't directly address what your associates need to do differently to help secure the organization. Today, we're going to spell out how you can incorporate these 20 security controls into your security program and how to use them to turn your associates from the weakest link in your security chain to the strongest. So let's first look at the top 3 security risks caused by associates. In our research, we cross-reference real-life associate behavior with the 20 security controls, and this is what we found. 90% of end users have legacy access, giving them inappropriate access to proprietary information. 83% of end users use their work machines for personal reasons, transferring files between work and personal machines. And 50% of data leaks are caused by unauthorized use of applications. In a study conducted at Cisco Live this year, approximately 70% of IT security professionals said that unauthorized use of applications accounted for at least half of their organization's data leaks. 83% of the end users in the study said that they use their work machines for personal reasons, and nearly half of those users said they transfer files between work and personal machines when working from home. More recently, Palo Alto issued its application usage and risk report, and it analyzes data collected by its firewalls at some 350 organizations. And that report shows that applications such as instant messaging, social networking, streaming media, and even peer-to-peer file sharing are nearly pervasive in all organizations, regardless of size, industry, or geography. So one of the things that we consistently find at our client sites is that they have a lot more email applications on their networks than they think. Aside from the 1 or 2 that are officially deployed, they sometimes have between 20 or 30 other apps, not just webmail, but a whole range of email apps that shouldn't be there. And that's worrisome because sensitive data can be sent out through any one of those applications without the company knowing about it. In addition, we find users employing unauthorized methods to remote in to their work PCs from other locations, such as go to my PC or PC Anywhere. In our minds, these are some of the most dangerous misuses because applications like that are essentially serving up corporate data to the internet. And not surprising, social networking sites such as Twitter and Facebook are cited by all the experts as bad news for cybersecurity. Again, it's a concern because the bad guys are constantly coming up with new ways to use those environments to hide or transmit malware or steal information. And this is probably what happens to targets. So we have to ask ourselves, why do our associates do these risky behaviors? And it's because they say they have to get their jobs done. Imagine that. So despite years of education and training, many associates still don't understand the risks of their behavior, and despite years of warnings about data breaches, many organizations are still getting burned. It happens every day. An employee who's out of the office wants to get into his work machine, and instead of using an approved secure method, he decides to email some confidential files to his home machine or upload a file to Facebook or use a popular PC file sharing tool. And the next thing you know, your organization is dealing with a major data breach. So why don't they follow the rules? They don't know the policies. If they do, nobody's enforcing them. Policies get in the way of their productivity. What we see in many cases is associates have been told generally that some of the technologies are off limits, but they haven't been told explicitly what they can and cannot do with technology and with corporate information. In some cases, they may have been told, but they make the decision to do it anyway. They're willing to take that first call from IT to tell them to stop, and they don't realize that they just put the company at risk for loss of revenue, loss of reputation, threat of litigation, compliance, fines, and impact on the company overall. So how can we help associates get their jobs done, keep the organization safe, and move the 20 critical security controls from awareness into action? We believe the first step in developing an effective corporate security policy, it requires you to know 3 important pieces of information. 1, you must understand the flow of data in your company. 2, you must understand information access needs of different employee groups, both on-site and off-site. 3, you need a technology framework for secure corporate infrastructure. Then you can be explicit about what you can and cannot do in corporate networks and with corporate data. Once you do that, you can begin to communicate and train associates on a regular basis and really institutionalize the security policy into your day-to-day operations. And lastly, but not least, is enforcing your policies. Many people do not want to enforce them, but if you take away enforcement, you have taken the teeth out of the policy. So what I've done is I highlighted 7 out of the 20 security controls that are associate facing and should be included in your security policy. And next, I'm going to go into the specific language you should include in your policies to be effective. I understand many of you already have security policies in place. However, I can say with some level of confidence they're probably not effective and they probably need to be modified. Again, in the Cisco Live survey, about 89% of the respondents reported that their security policies need to be changed. That's a pretty significant number. As I mentioned earlier, you need to understand the flow of data in your company, information access needs of different employee groups, both on-site and off-site, and you need a technology framework for secure corporate infrastructure. Once you're armed with this information, you can write an explicit policy that helps your associates understand what is and is not okay. So specifically, you should include language around the types of authorized and unauthorized devices and software that can be used in your organization and provide guidelines for personal machines and transmitting company information to personal accounts. So I want to say, in many cases, companies want policies to be a very high level. Security policies really need to be explicit, and they need to be maintained on a regular basis. So the second bit of critical information and language to put in your policies is to address who has administrative rights. And I would say state who has access to financial data, employee files, customer data, and mission critical information, and state why each group or individual needs access to the information. And also state what liabilities each group represents. If an associate has access to this type of data or administrative rights, they should be instructed to ask that the access be removed because they're going to be held responsible if their credentials are used inappropriately. I would also outline data loss prevention and use examples of computer-based data security procedures and physical security of files, documents, and corporate information. Provide instructions on how to handle and report security lapses. And finally, be explicit about what the ramifications and consequences are for not following the policies. Once you have written your policies, review them with management, executives, and other stakeholders, and make sure that executives know what is expected of them. Next, I would document your exceptions as well, and then publish. So this is what I see at every single client that I work with. They publish the policies, but they don't publish them where every single associate can get a hold of them. So when I say associate, I'm talking about full-time, part-time, contractors, partners. everyone that works on your network should be able to get to this security policy. So make sure that it's in a place, like on your landing page, where everyone can get to it. Then you're going to prepare it and conduct training sessions so that they understand what they can and cannot do on the corporate infrastructure and with corporate information. And I would say on a regular basis, review the policies and update them, because you're going to have new threats, legal changes, and technology advances that you need to make adjustments for. And at the end of the day, I would also recommend employee bonding or insurance options to mitigate financial exposure or potential security lapses. So be explicit, write or edit your existing policies to help associates understand what they can and cannot do. Then you want to institutionalize your security policy, and you want to continually reduce your risk. So on April 1st, I'm going to go through a detailed presentation on how to select an enterprise security training and awareness program, what the various elements are, and how you implement that. Again, I think the key word there is institutionalizing security. You want it to be at top of mind of your associates at all times. You don't want it to be an afterthought or, oh yeah, there's that security thing you should be doing. It should be part of what they live and breathe every day. And then the next webinar that I'm going to do on May 6th, we're going to learn how to reduce risk by enforcing your security policies. And so many of you, again, may have seen these security controls. So I want to direct your attention down to the bottom of my references, which are the SANS security policies. Now, these are templates that you can use, and they are based on the 20 critical security controls. And if your policies are already written, they will help you edit your existing policies. And if they're not written, it's a great place where you can begin. And then what I'd like to suggest to you, you can get this presentation today at brossgroup.com/blog, and come back on April 1st, and I'll teach you how to institutionalize these security policies. Check out our schedule of other upcoming Bross Group webinars, and don't forget to share these resources with your colleagues. And then contact Bross Group account execs if you would like any help writing your policies. So you can also contact me directly. This is my email address and phone number, and I will be happy to take your questions.
So if anyone has any questions, feel free to write those in or use the raise hand feature that's on the side panel, and we can go ahead and ask Cindy any of those. One of the questions that I see common, and you kind of hit on it, Cindy, is how do you suggest we get people to follow this policy?
So one of the key ways of getting people to follow the policy, obviously, is to do education and training. But again, it's institutionalizing security policy into the fabric of your associates. So it's going to be a lot of things. There'll be a lot of different communication opportunities in addition to training and direct communications. But I would certainly say use all of your existing communication channels, newsletters, posters. Anytime you have an executive town hall, make sure that it's included on the agenda. Those are some of the ways in which you can start institutionalizing it. And then finally, enforcing it. Because if it has no teeth, people simply will not pay attention.
So Cindy, do you think it's a good idea for all of the departments to get involved in the security policy, or is it something that just HR handles for the most part, or the IT department with HR, or how does that work typically?
Oh, that's a great question. do I think all the departments should get involved? I don't believe all the departments should get involved in writing the policy. I don't believe HR should write the policy. I believe it should be the security department. And if you don't have a security department, I'm sure you have a security representative in IT or probably in your facilities where they handle physical security. So I would say that's where the policies need to be drafted. And I think HR helps you enforce the policies. But every single department and every single person is going to be involved in security. It's everybody's job. It's not just HR, it's not just IT, it's everybody.
Okay, is there any other questions from anybody else? Okay, I don't see any other questions. We did end a little early. This is one of our shorter webinars, but we do have 2 more in this series. And we would like for you to join in those webinars, or if you want some answers faster than those webinars come around, feel free to contact Cindy directly, or any of that information that we gave on the previous slides. And these slides will be available through email. We will go ahead and follow up email with all of you. And we'll also have this video of this recording up as well that you guys will have access to. So lots of different ways to communicate with us with this topic. And I know there's a lot of questions about what goes on in security and IT and everything else that's out there right now with how fast technology is moving. So I want to thank you all for joining us today. And please do fill out, there's a survey that comes at the end of this webinar. Please do fill that out, let us know how we're doing, and we can provide you with any information on future webinars that we're going to be doing that's relevant to things you guys want to see. So thanks again, and we're looking forward to seeing you at the next one.